So hello my fans from YouTube. Finally I'm making this my first video. I planned to do the Mercury retrograde, but I postponed due to the Cancer vibes. So today is my official first video, long video. I'm going to talk about the July horoscopes. So this will be a little bit professional and a little bit like technical, but I hope that you can find something useful out of my video so that you can prepare for the July. So as I have mentioned at the very beginning of the month, the second half of 2026 is much more difficult than the first month. Yes, so for YouTube, I don't have like a script like I have for TikTok because I want to do something I want to talk about in this video. I want to share with my insights about astrology, something, yes, useful. And my hope is that it's not like you watching me. It's more like you can listening to my podcast. It's more like that. So yes, this is my monthly podcast time. So as I mentioned before, the 2026 second half is more difficult, and for these months, definitely the toughest will be July and October. The second toughest, I will give it to December, but December is more like preparation. August and November brings opportunity with risks. September is smoother. So it's like these four categories. They have four different types. August and November are similar. November and December are also similar, but like July and October are definitely toughest. So the tough doesn't like particularly mean for a particular person. Like an individual is tough in July. It's for aggregate level. So for instance, I do a lot of transits, secondary, and solar arc for my clients, and like when I do the summaries, I found that most of the people are struggling in July and October more than the other months. This is also consistent with the current transits we see in the sky. This is very funny. Astrology is always very kind of surprisingly true. So July is tough because we have three main hard aspects and it's affecting all different signs together, but different degrees. So, you will not get afraid if I say that, okay, this is more relevant for Cancer, for instance, because you need to pay attention to degrees. So, overall, there are three key types of issues and like um, energies we need to cope with in July that will be tough. The first is the mutable energies of Mars Gemini conjunction Uranus at the very beginning of the month around July the 4th, and it's affecting particular regions. I will talk about that. So this is more like volatility, surprises, like blind boxes at the beginning of the month. But later in the month, things will change. So the other key issues is Neptune and the Saturn, Mercury going retrograde. So this is to some extent scattered throughout the months. Mercury retrograde is through the first 3 weeks. Neptune retrograde starts on July the 7th. Saturn retrograde starts on July the 26th. So it's like the vibe is distributed evenly throughout the months. And it's also distributed evenly among the cardinal signs like Capricorn, Libra, Aries, and Cancer. So like the first 15 degrees is more set. So first 5 degrees, Neptune retrograde, 5 to 15, Saturn retrograde, 15 and Capricorn full moon, and later degrees, Mercury retrograde. Last 4 degrees, safer. So this is good. So this is more like the breakdown of the energy for cardinal signs. And the third issue is a Jupiter-Pluto opposition triggering the Barbault Basket, particularly around the Aquarius full moon. This will be like the end of the month, last 10 days. It's not bad. I've mentioned is risk return trade-off. So my old followers know, like I will not say old followers. So my long-term followers, audience know that I have been working as risk manager at large investment banks before I'm doing practicing astrology, even though I'm just 24. I did it like my 21 at a large investment bank in New York. I'm doing risk management. So the Barbault Basket and Aquarius full moon is like the risk management. You will gain a lot of opportunities, but you need to balance between all these opportunities and the good risk, like the high risks. So I would strongly recommend you not to work too much impulsively for this upcoming like July, particularly if you have fixed signs like early degrees, like 0 to 7 degrees of Scorpio, of Leo, of Aquarius, and Taurus. Okay, so these are the three main issues. And let us do this like predictions now. And sorry, I want to take my notebook a little bit. I want to refer to it a little bit. I didn't make any notes. It's more like just okay. I blurred the background so you cannot see. I just want to take a look at the transit time so that I can pinpoint the time more accurately. So I'm going to talk from the very beginning of the month to the end of the month and walk you through the most important aspects. Okay, so this will be more detailed than my TikTok video. Some of the aspects I will skip in my TikTok videos, but I will not skip it here. So let's start from the beginning of the month. Beginning of the month on July the 4th, definitely the Mars Gemini conjunction. Actually, you will feel the vibe already at the end of June. Like I record this video on June the 28th. So today Mars enters Gemini. So it already begins sign-based conjunction. It's already within the 5-degree orbit. So it's so super close. So you can feel some intense energies. These intense energies can be seen from the recent earthquakes events around the world and also some extreme mountain events. I see some news headlines. I'm not political. I don't want to talk about that, but I see a lot of political sudden news today. So the vibes will be more pronounced in the first 10 days around July the 4th. So let's take a look at the chart together. So you can see my screen. So for July the 4th, so this is the exact conjunction Mars Gemini. It's already a little bit out of the orbit because it's like after the conjunction, but the energy is still here. We can see Mars conjunction with the Gemini here. So Mars Gemini conjunction in Uranus, it's more like a blind box. It's surprising. This is a key energy. The key takeaway is that there will be some volatility, there will be some sudden changes, there will be some abrupt events. So abrupt events is not necessarily a bad thing because sometimes like surprises can be good for personal level if you want to break free. Like my audience know I'm big fans of diva. My favorite three divas are Beyonce, Mariah Carey, and definitely Ariana Grande. So she has a song called Break Free. The best word for Mars Uranus conjunction at this period in Gemini is breaking free, like gaining some freedom, personal freedom if you want to stay away from parents. So if you want to live alone, you want to move to a new city, you want to jump out of the comfort zone, this is a good time to take some risks, to do some volatility scenes. But sometimes Mars is really with some accidents, particularly when Mars Uranus conjunction in natal charts. I've noticed a lot of cases, Mars Uranus natally, they have some sudden like accidents. Particularly one of the client, I just read his chart like 1 hour ago. It was in nice house, so he occurred many occurrences of accidents like from his early age. So Mars Uranus conjunction, he is not in Gemini, but like Mars Uranus conjunction in Gemini, more like volatility in communications. Words can be weapons, words can be hurting without notice. There will be some verbal conflicts, definitely, and there will be some from the larger level. There will be some transportation events, some transportation like incidents. So there will be some transportation like a technology breakdown. And this is also very important in Yongding level. So you should have seen a lot of videos saying that July the 4th is very important, this stuff is urgent. So let me explain to you why. So I have a lot of like space to explain here. I cannot explain my TikTok. So it's more like we have like the astrologer seeing like the natal chart of certain regions it will affect. So for instance, for United States, it's like the Uranus return. So the Uranus return will be now between now to 2033. So Uranus return in US past history are related with some conflicts. Like the first return, if I remember correctly, was the Independence War. The second was like the Civil War. The third was World War II. So people are cautious of that. But I'm more optimistic. So this time we have the Barbault Basket. So Barbault himself is like optimistic like me. He doesn't see that it's a bad thing. It's more like an utopia, an ideal world. It's more like that. I'm not that kind of optimistic, but I think with the support from all these sextiles from like we see there's Mars, Gemini, Uranus conjunction. We still have support from Jupiter, even though it's just a sextile with Neptune here, sextile with trine with Pluto here. There's some support. There's some transformation. For instance, Mars, Pluto, like some transformation persuasions, Mars, Gemini, Mars, Neptune dreams and inspirations, Mars, Jupiter actions, impulsive motivation. It's not a pure bad thing. There will be some volatility, but there's still some good energy flow. So I don't foresee an ending point of the world for United States. And definitely, so the first conjunction of Mars Uranus is always the most important among all the rest of the 7 and 8 conjunctions. So this is like, sorry, the four conjunction, we don't have many occurrences because Mars transit twice 2 years a cycle. Yes, I am sophisticated. So I think one of my strengths is I'm super technical. So my professor, my astrology professor, she always said that like like people in 20s like me, astrologers, can be very technical, but I need to improve some other skills. So yes. So it's four occurrences, but it's like the most pronounced now. So it determines the second, like the rest of the cycle, the 7 years. I don't think this worst case scenario. And it's also important for some country, like for Venezuela, it has Mars Uranus conjunction in the natal chart of the country. So it's like repetitions. And also for like I forgot, sorry, for Iran, like I remember it has a T square at early mutable degrees, like the moon, like the Venus in Pisces or somewhere, I forgot. Moon in Gemini, like the early T square, it will be directly triggered. So there will be some sudden changes in the collective like moods among the citizens, or maybe because it's also I remember it's a Saturn T square, so there will be some struggles or challenges. I will not be surprised if I see some headlines there, some sudden events, but like Mars Uranus is like sudden. It's not like you can observe or infer like from a long time ago. It's not like that. It's more like sudden blind boxes. And also for the other country, I forgot. Is it Cuba or something? Never mind. So I will talk about these three countries first. So I'm not political. It's just like an occurrence of some events related with the Mars-Uranus conjunction within the first 10 days. We should see some news. Okay. So for individuals, I've mentioned it's not that tough. Like if you have any of the Sun, Moon, Rising, Heaven, Mercury, Venus, Mars, these are all the themes. Like for the like the rest of the structures, I will not emphasize these planets and axis again, but refer to any of this. If you have these planets in your natal chart between 1 to 5 degrees of Sagittarius, Virgo, Pisces, and Gemini, you will be super cautious. Okay, you can take some risks, you can break free, but be aware of some sudden events and watch your mouth, watch your communication. This is my biggest advice for you. One of my clients, she has already experienced this yesterday. She told me she was currently applying for an immigration visa in the Oceania, like in New Zealand, and she's been struggling for a while, but I think she can get that. Yes, but it's like volatility. Okay, so this is the energy, the early this month. I put a lot of emphasis here. Take cautious. Okay, let's talk about the second structure I want to highlight this month, which will be the July the 6th, the Sun Saturn square. This is not that tough if it's just a Saturn, but Saturn is going retrograde very soon. So the key energy takeaway for July the 6th around this time is that there will be some pressures, there will be some burdens, or maybe your emotional needs is not being fulfilled. Like Saturn in Aries wants you to take some responsibility despite the Cancer, like emotional needs. It's more like that, particularly if I have like Capricorn, Cancer, like Aries and Libra between like around 14 degrees, let's say 13, 14, 15. You can already see and witness the energy of Saturn nearly going retrograde. And this is like the first part of group of people that will be hit by the Saturn retrograde in July. Slow down and take responsibility. Okay, let's talk about the second day, which is July the 7th. So this is also a very important day because you should notice Neptune is going retrograde. This is important. So it's shown as stationary here, but it's actually retrograde. So it's already near retrograde, if I remember correctly, like July the 7th. Yes, it is. So when Neptune goes retrograde, it's like this time is very important because it's comprehensive, like retrograde in Aries. Last year, it retrograde back to Pisces. So it will be hitting people between 1 to 5 degrees of cardinal placements, like the Aries, like Capricorn, Cancer, and Libra, still these four signs. But degrees are important. So Neptune retrograde is not necessarily a bad thing. It's like making you see something clearly. I want to make an example again. So one of my clients, she had Venus, Neptune transit conjunction, Neptune conjuncting with her natal Venus. She told me she was like having a dream in relationship. So she didn't know why, but she just liked that man, and she made some very unwise decision because of the man. So the good news for her is that she will not become so confused, and she will not become overly incentives or insightful in the second half of the year. She will be more realistic. So Neptune retrograde in Aries is helping you filter out the personal bubbles. It's either you towards him towards her because she, my client, she had the Neptune in her seventh house now. So it's towards her boyfriend or second house towards your money, like anything. It's like refreshing because Aries is or self is someone, it's either you or him. It's not like Neptune in Pisces, more like a mood, a feeling, an environment. It's not like that. So be aware, and it's a long term, even though when a retrograde speaks loudest when it goes retrograde. So it's very strong, like at that current moment. And if I remember correctly, Moon will form a conjunction with Neptune at July the 6th, which is also a triggering point of the Neptune retrograde energy. So the earthquake events we see in the previous states is really related with Neptune, the Sun-Neptune square. It will be related with some ocean events. There will be some, like from larger level, when Neptune retrograde, there will be some ocean events, some natural disasters, tsunami, volcano eruptions, earthquakes, pay attention, or there will be some navy issues, chemical issues, be aware. Okay, so this is the third theme. And then let's talk about the next part. Venus enters Virgo, the fourth theme, which is around July the 9th. So July the 9th, Venus will be entering Virgo. This sign is very important because the moment it enters, it will form a T-square with Uranus and a node, the north node, and also nearly form a sign-based square with Mars. So it's like a T-square, immutable sign. So it's still hitting the early degrees, like 1 to 5 degrees. It's more like sudden changes in desires. Venus in Virgo, I don't like that because definitely I do classic astrology more than the modern astrology. So classic astrology, Venus in Virgo is a sign of like sorry, it's a sign of fall because Venus is exaltation in Pisces. So Venus in Virgo is fall because Venus, we have asceticism. Venus in Pisces, we have all these like positive aspirations, positive feelings, some emotions, some inspires. But Virgo is too realistic. So Venus here is very plain. I just do something based on realistic. It's even more realistic than Capricorn. The difference between Venus, oh, okay, I'm really doing some natal chart interpretation. Now, one of the biggest difference between Venus, Virgo, and Capricorn is Venus in Capricorn people are realistic, but they are not picky. Venus in Virgo are super picky. I have one of the Venus in Virgo classmate, high school classmate. He is super, super picky about love. I'm like I had no relationships since I was young. I'm like I didn't do like have some relationships because I like to be on my alone. This is not really with Virgo, but he is different from me. He is picky. He just like didn't like anyone around him. I'm very kind of sometimes feeling not confident about myself, but he is just like picky. So Venus in Virgo is like too picky that cannot make him or her fulfill the desire. And when it forms a T-square with Uranus, it's like the desire is picky and suddenly change. So there will be some sudden like occurrences of relationship and then suddenly ending. It's more like that. And Venus with Uranus, there's also some changes and volatility in the stock market, in the financial market. I don't think this is good. I think this is not that positive because it's Venus in Virgo, so it's not that good. Some sudden like downfall. Will not recommend you doing some investment except that you're professionals. And Venus with Uranus South Node, this is also like some past relationship problems you need to face is suddenly occurrence because South Node is like past karma things. Particularly with Virgo here, it's like karma. You need to cleanse, you need to release. It's a good time for releasing definitely. If you want to say goodbye to someone that pissing you off in the past period, okay, goodbye. This is the best time frame. Okay, so sudden changes in desires, financial market, this is not good. And Venus, Uranus is also like fast love situationship with some picky vibes. You may like focus, okay, I want to begin some situationship, relationship because of money, and then sudden changes desires. It's ends. It's like this. Okay. But in overall, Venus in Virgo will bring some positivity to the mutable signs like Gemini, Pisces, particularly the later degrees. I will talk about that soon. Okay, the next part, the fifth part I'm going to talk about is the Cazimi. It's also very important. It's like, and also the Cancer new moon is together. I will put it together, like the July, the four teams. Yes, the Cancer new moon. So the Cancer new moon will directly trigger the Mercury here. Okay, it's already separate. I don't think it's a good time. I guess it should be. Let me see. It's early hours, so it's 4 a.m. Let us go to nearly the exact time frame. Okay, the early degree. So we can see that it had just been separated from the Cazimi energy, but it's still triggering the Mercury conjunction. So July the 12th and 14th is a very good and important, insightful point for your Mercury retrograde. So when Mercury goes retrograde, the Cazimi is always a very important reflection time for you to realize something, to know something, particularly as you are between the Capricorn, if you are in Capricorn, Cancer, Libra, Aries, around the Cazimi degrees, the very interesting thing is that Cazimi degrees are very similar with the new moon. The new moon is 24 degrees 59 minutes, and the Cazimi is 20 degrees 42 minutes. So from 19 to 22, 23 degrees, this is an insightful point. It's a reflection point. And Cancer new moon is a new cycle in the Cancer chart of your area. So for instance, for rising Gemini, Cancer, it will be your second house money sectors. And for for rising Pisces, it should be our fifth house relationship, kids, entertainment, hobby. So it's a new cycle. And particularly this one is refreshing and revisiting. It's refreshing because Cazimi really refresh our mind, but it's revisiting because still Mercury is in retrograde. So it help you see something clearly, make some wise decisions, and put something forward. This is super, super helpful. And the other thing I want to highlight about the Cazimi with new moon is that it's also the degrees that you have experienced a Jupiter transit early this year. So it's like a reflection point after you gain all these opportunities. Do I want to get it? Do I want to leave it alone? Is it the opportunity you want? If you want it, it's now a new cycle. So for instance, for rising Gemini, you get a lot of resources this month, like early 6 months. And now it's a time for you to filter, to do some decisions, to see something clearly. Okay, this resource is good. The resource from my parent is bad. So you need to make some decisions. You need to see something clearly. Okay? This is a very important reflection point during the Mercury retrograde. I really like this energy. And I think July the 14th is one of the best days I would choose for some election astrology this month. Election astrology is like doing something big projects. Like I started my YouTube on the Venus Jupiter conjunction. So if you want to use the energy in July, you have to do something big in July. I would highly recommend you use the July the 14th energy. Okay? This is important. So the 2014, the Cazimi, the reflection, the insightful point, I like it, which is good. Okay, next, I forgot about the numbers. I think next one should be the fifth or sixth. Never mind. I don't remember. No, it's not important. Next one I'm going to talk about is the Barbault Basket. It's very near exact around July the 17th. Let us go to the time here. So the Barbault. Oh, one thing I left behind about the Cazimi new moon is there's also a very faithful news information coming out in the Mundane level. See something clearly, particularly in Cancer field, like some past issues, some past healthcare issues solved and the information out. The issues related with news related with past real estate and family stuff. Like you may see some family reunion news. Okay, we finally find someone for his or her parents, or like some family related stuff, healthcare stuff, big news. But resolving past matters around July the 12th and 14th very clearly. This is good. Starting a new cycle. The Barbault Basket is more relevant for the larger scale, so for the global scale. So the astrologers are quite mixed in the Barbault Basket. Some of them are super, super pessimistic. Some of them are optimistic. I'm in between. I'm neutral. I'm more optimistic than pessimistic. Some people say the Barbault Basket, the Jupiter, Pluto, which I will talk about it very soon, is like making all the themes go extreme. Barbault himself think it's like utopia. It's like a very good ideal world. You should think that it's like the ideal foundation, anything like that. Good very mindset. I'm in between. I think this energy, yes, it provides a very good idealism. It provides a very good mindset we should reach, but it's not now. It's just a very early embryonic starting point. And even it's not a foundation. It's just like the early things we can see. It's just like a very little baby. It's not like mature at all. And to some extent, the Jupiter like Pluto opposition, the extreme between individualism and groups, it will be also being highlighted. But I don't think this is directly related with war. I don't think this is a war index point, like a major war, World War III. I'm not that one. And I always see a lot of astrology of Fairmont just saying, I'm going to leave the United States. I will not do that. I think it's no end of the world. So relax. I want all of my audience to be relaxing. So this is just like a bigger picture, but as we see all the planets trigger, Like Uranus in Gemini, definitely a fast change in technology in July. We will see a lot of technology going mature, or like at least we can see some like results in July. This is good. The second, Jupiter in Leo, some changes in entertainment, in people's outlook towards entertainment, particularly with Pluto here. So many of the people are no longer like favorable for the celebrity vibes. They highlight the group like individualism. This is also a trend here. Neptune in Aries, something changes, restructuring. We can see some results from early February, the Saturn Neptune restructuring in policy. Some idealistic policies will be here. Some individual insights. Pluto in Aquarius, also artificial intelligence, transportation technology, communication technology, new fields will be taking place. The groups, I like the aggregate mindset. Okay, some force transformations. So this is not bad because it's sextile, sextile, sextile. If it's like a T square, a grand cross, this is bad. So I don't think it's end of the world. Relax. For individual people, if you have early degrees in the fire and wind sign, oh, sorry, I was called wind because when I talk about English, sometimes I translate directly from like what you see. My English is fast, even though I'm not a native speaker. Sometimes translate from Chinese because Chinese we call it wind, but in English we call it air. So no worries. So actually, air and fire signs in early degrees, like between 0 to 6 degrees, you will receive the basket. For each of you, there will be some struggles because either it's a conjunction or position, at least a planet. So for instance, Jupiter, conjuncting Leo and Pluto opposing the Leo. So you have some conjunctions or oppositions or both, but there are still like smooth aspects. So changes in long term positive, but short term still some struggles or volatility for individual. And it's not just the single date, it's the whole month. Okay. Next, I'm going to talk about. I don't want to talk about too much about Mars, Saturn, sextile. It's more like okay, a little bit a foundation point, a more solid point throughout this volatile energy. Around July the 19th, Mars receiving Saturn, even Saturn in full, because Mars like likes to be Aries. Everybody knows that Mars rules Aries. It's more like setting you some foundations for personal like growth and also communication, at least something solid. That feels good. Okay. So Mars Saturn, we have talked about that. No more needs to do that. Okay, let's talk about the July the 20th Jupiter Pluto opposition. Let's do it. So this is not a bad thing, particularly for Jupiter in Leo, because many of the very famous and rich celebrities, they have Jupiter Pluto conjunctions, which is good. Like they get it. And Jupiter, and also they have many of them have Jupiter Pluto opposition. I've seen a lot of cases when I do natal charts reading. So the opposition is something like more difficult than the conjunctions because it brings risk. Jupiter in Leo, I personally like it because Jupiter has triplicity in fire and air signs, but not in water and earth sign. So Jupiter likes to be in fire, and even more than the air sign. But like for Jupiter in like fire, it's still not exaltation. It loses dignity after it leaves Cancer. So Jupiter in Cancer is good because it's preventing a lot of people from worst case scenarios. Even for me, I expect something going extreme last year, but it didn't happen because it made some positive alignments to my personal planets. So Jupiter in Leo, it brings a lot of auspicious vibes. It brings boost, it brings growth, it brings expansion, success, achievement. But there's a but here. It doesn't prevent any worst case scenario. It doesn't consider risk. You just get it. And many of them is like short run. If I want to make a very vivid illustration of Jupiter in Leo, I would say Napoleon. It's like you win, you at all costs, but finally it's only short run. You still lose it. Yes, it's more like that. I don't think it's like that kind of extreme. You lose it at the end. But it's more like you get it quickly. It doesn't last long. It's a Jupiter in Leo vibes. Okay. But when it opposes with Pluto, it's like you cannot see clearly the risk return trade-off. So Jupiter in Leo is returns. And Pluto sometimes is risk, hidden enemies, hidden issues. Pluto is hidden world, hidden things. So you cannot see that clearly. It's like you get something impulsively, begin something impulsively without realizing the risks. For the larger level, it's like the aggregate mindset, conflict with the celebrities. Maybe we'll see some people at the opposition of the public at the higher level. So someone like a news for some higher level individual celebrities, and they are not meeting the needs of individuals. So people drag them down, drag him or her down. It's more like that. People's opposition, arguments, conflicts, and Jupiter in Pluto, there's a huge opportunity here around July 20th, particularly in entertainment, in the hobbies, in the like the Leo is also related with all these like art, design sectors, and also the technology. But there's some conflict. For instance, creators want something to be unique, to be human mind. But like Pluto in Aquarius is more like AI. This like aggregate like dubious thoughts of AI. Or maybe people have some conflict, some like never mind. Just like people will say like, okay, we notice AI has side effects. It's more like that. So and also Jupiter in Leo is like expansion, Pluto in Aquarius, deeper in mindset, transformation in mindset. Do you want to transform or we just want to grow without doing? It's also a like debate around that time. Yes, debate against AI will be there. And Jupiter Leo opposition, I will always foresee some changes in financial market. Definitely Jupiter and Pluto. It's like financial huge opportunities with risk. So if you're a speculator, you can definitely use this. I strongly recommend. But if you're like risk averse like me, I don't recommend. And Jupiter in Leo is sometimes also like the particularly the Sun will conjunct Jupiter soon, so around July the 20th, and soon I will talk about the Aquarius full moon July the 29th. We will see some aggregate like or beings people at higher positions, like I just mentioned, having some issues like the leaders. I don't want to be political, so I want to talk about their transit charts, even though I have seen many leaders transit charts. Okay, so this one has been done. Next one is the Mercury stationary with Mercury Venus Sextile around July 24th. I like this. This is a sweet spot in this month. So even though it's a sextile and Venus hates Virgo, it's still a sextile. It's a helpful point. So we can see that the Venus and Mercury here, Mercury receiving Venus, which is good. Some miscommunication, some nostalgia moves can be exported. And Venus in Virgo is more like, yes, even though your thoughts are, even your preference is too realistic, it's picky. But when you say it's emotional, some people will feel it. So it may not, it's like making your like over picky, over like I would say Venus in Virgo is also sometimes very like very I would say very overly highlighting the monetary values or maybe too realistic, too straightforward. But Mercury here makes it neutral. At least it can help you um like feel smoother vibes after Mercury retrograde, or maybe a little bit boost. It's not that strong because Venus is forming square with Mars. I'm going to talk about that very soon. It's already very near. The Venus Mars energy will be prevailing the whole last 10 days, even though it will be precise around July 29th, which is a little bit tough, like Venus Mars. I will talk about this. Okay, next we have two more left for this month. No, still four more, a lot of them. So next one I'm going to talk about is July the 26th. It is a big day. Let's do it. So this day we have the node officially entering Aquarius. So this one, never mind. Don't be so like because this node here is not like the so no no we have two kind of node. Okay, a teacher again. The average node and the exact node. So this one is not what we like always talk about. I will change this a little bit. I think node will be into like Aquarius in is it? Okay, but like I think node will be into July, around July 26th if it's like actual node. So this should be the average node. Maybe I'm wrong, but I forgot. Okay, because like when I did like okay again when I did like personal predictions, I didn't like to look at the nodes. Okay, this is for me. I didn't mean like it's right or wrong because astrology predictions sometimes depends on your everybody's techniques, but everybody's like goal is the same. We want to be accurate and precise. But for me, when I do natal chart, Nodes is important. Do secondary progression, natal is important. Solar arc, node is important. But for transit chart, I didn't look very often. No, so I forgot the degrees. But if you close my eyes, I can say Uranus is at 4 degrees, Saturn is at 14 degrees, Neptune is at 4 degrees, and Pluto is at 4 degrees. It's more like that. Yeah, I can recite it clearly. And Mars at the end of the month will be around like 20 degrees, right? Yes, I made it. I didn't like, yeah, this very like recitation. Because when you do an astrology, you need to be very like spontaneous to these degrees. It's so important. Okay, never mind. So it's either July or August. Nodes will be in Aquarius, a new eclipse cycle, like changing our focus. So previous the eclipses, everybody's developing foundations or like actually thinking about whether it should be the Pisces, emotional needs, or Virgo, like rational needs, or it's like Virgo, the things you can touch, you can feel, or the Pisces, the thoughts, the mindset, which is a little bit like spiritual, like the trade-off. And the future is very similar with the Jupiter opposition with Pluto, like the Leo Aquarius axis. Individual or the collective, self values or group values. This is themes for the eclipse we are going to see starting from August. We'll have our first Leo eclipse in the recent years on August 12th, which is quite important. Like very important seed planting time for individual and the world. Okay, we've done this, made it. And the next one I'm going to talk about is on the same day we have Saturn going retrograde in Aries. This is super, super, super important, guys. So Saturn first entire and comprehensive retrograde in Aries. Two themes. One, taking responsibility that you must do and neglect. Two, releasing the responsibility that you should not be supposed to be taking. So let me provide some example. One of my client had Saturn Aries directly in the seventh house of his natal chart. So, and also forming some tight aspects with some natal planets. I don't want to talk about too much, but like Saturn Aries, he's always having some relationship, but he always like having short terms. He cannot do some commitment. Saturn in Aries is a young sign. It's a very young energy, but Saturn is mature. So many of this, and it's also the same for Saturn in Leo. I want to take something short term. I want to take something, get it? But Saturn says, no, you need to slow down. So there's a commitment issues here. So the second half of month, if you have second half of the year, if you have 7 to 15 degrees, or even 6 to 15 degrees of the cardinal signs, Capricorn, or even 16 degrees, Libra, Aries, and Cancer, you will revisit all these commitments. And you're forced to take something and you're forced to leave something that is no longer. So very like clear examples, like my client. He always break up. Yes, break up with the people that you are supposed not to commit or you don't want to commit. It's either you voluntarily or sometimes Saturn Square with natal planets Venus is forced. Or maybe you need to take something. The other example, you have some jobs, you neglect them. You do it fast in the first like 6 months, 2026. Okay, your supervisor caught that error. You need to revisit. You need to solve all these errors. Take this responsibility. But the good thing about Saturn retrograde is like building structures, foundations, and setting for the long run. So for instance, you find something, you are becoming supervisor in the first half of the year. You are like a rising, let me say, rising Cancer, you become a supervisor early this month, but you need to know how your responsibility is. You need to begin a long-term like responsibility taking period here. So it's not a pure bad thing. Okay. But when Saturn goes retrograde, when a planet goes retrograde, it's always the time it goes loudest. Loudest. That's it. Okay. Two other aspects, or one or two. One is the July the 20th. Okay, they're all on July the 29th. They're super clear. So first, July 29th, Venus, Mars square, which is not good, but it's more towards personal level, Venus, Mars. It's not like through the large levels. But it will be important because we have early this year Venus Mars conjunction in January. We see a lot of development there, and we see a new cycle in like um some. It's not like conflicts. It's like some expansions or maybe some Venus Mars related stuff. and now it's like a tension point. So for aggregate level, it's more like communications conflicts again because Mars in Gemini, ruled by Mercury, Venus in Virgo, ruled by Mercury. So Mercury theme is highlighted here. Some verbal conflicts, some struggling, some tensions, some verbal themes, or some transportation themes. Sudden, but it's not that fierce. I think this is much easier than the Mars Uranus at the early months because it's just Venus and Mars is inner planets. We had a similar occurrence last year, but in different signs. Mars in Virgo, Venus in Gemini. I think it's in July. I remember. Is it? I think it's in, but it's in summer. So for personal level, the first thing, Venus Virgo, picky, sudden changes, desires in relationship or some situationship start fast and fast. Or Venus Mars, yes, some like sex related stuff, some sex triggered conflicts and communications conflicts, arguments, or Mars in Gemini, Venus in Virgo, making some decisions or doing something, acting very fast without knowing the occurrence and then suddenly change, very unstable actions. And Venus, Mars also with some like short term, very volatile desires, fulfilling, spending, regrets. Don't do that. Okay. So be extra cautious about other people's tensions around this time. It's like mini version of the Mars Uranus conjunction early this month. And it's affecting people like in the near 21 degrees. Yes, it's very clear. And then the same day we have Aquarius full moon. It's clear. Moon, Jupiter, Sun, Pluto triggering all the Barbault Basket. I don't want to highlight the Barbault Basket again, but Sun in Jupiter, Sun Jupiter conjunction, not bad. Very close conjunction the exact day. A very good growth date. July the 29th is the other date I like for this month. It's a huge opportunity, but with risks here. Or Pluto is at least some forced transformation, so it's not easy to get. Okay, I get it. It's easy. Everybody gets that. The fruit is like a big project. I get it. No. One is that there will be some hidden issues involved. You won't notice. If you find it's easy to get, okay, I get a job so fast in one day. I quit my job on July 28th and I got it on July 29th. There will be some hidden issues. The second, forced transformation. So for instance, I need to make some sacrifice. I need to change to another field. I need to change my mindset. I need to give up something. Okay? The third about this Sun, Jupiter, Pluto, it's maybe short run. It's like fast, you get it, and then you didn't lose, but you cannot maintain it for long. But the good news is for also making good aspects, soft aspects with Uranus, Neptune. So some positive surprises, some positive insights, and it's all fire and air sign. So it's more outward. You can feel this. Everybody can see you. This is visible. Okay. So be aware of that. Or maybe some Jupiter, like some huge progress, a big project in entertainment, but the conflict is from the audiences or from the public. Everybody is against it. Or a celebrity achieve a whole goal, but when you look at the comment bar, you look at the TikTok, everybody's saying, I don't like him, I don't like him. I don't know her by Mariah Carey. I don't know him. It's more like that. So it's also emphasizing, amplifying the oppositions, the conflicts I've just mentioned in the Barbault Basket. But it's good personally. If you want to start something big, new, take some risk, transformations, do it. Okay. So this is for July. Make it very long. I suppose it's like half an hour, but it has a lot to say. Yes, it's very comprehensive, detailed. And also the Barbault Basket will affect people with the first 6 degree, like particularly around the 2 to 6 degree, between 2 to 6 degrees of the fixed signs, like Leo, Aquarius, Scorpio, and Taurus. So July is tough, but there's still a lot of opportunities, particularly middle of the month and end of the month. And actually, the end of the month is very similar to the August life. This particular energy will be, to some extent, triggered again in August 12th, Leo eclipse. The Leo eclipse aspect is not that bad. Pisces eclipse at the end of August, hard, but it's good in the long run because it's really releasing. So August is a very beneficial month. I like it. So for July, it's tough, but there's two opportunities you can get. So don't fear yourself. It's a good long-term personal growth. It's a long-term society transformation from the water energy to the more outward fire wind energy. We will notice the effects here. So we will do okay and follow my channel. Okay, as I do this first, next video, I will try to, like in July, I have 5 videos on my plan. This one is the first one. I have 4 rest. Mm, definitely there's one about the August horoscope, and the rest of the 3 I have decided. So subscribe to my channel. I will increase frequencies in August, but not in July because I need to receive some feedback and I want to um, continuously improve because it's my first time doing the long-term video in English. I've done a lot of long-term videos in Chinese, like the yes, but not long-term in English. So follow my channel. See you and have a nice day. And hope you have a very nice July and follow my channel. Important. So your biggest support for me is not never giving me the money, but it's like supporting me directly, like press a subscription. This is my biggest support. See you.